Thank you for leaving me a drink, though I think it's a little empty, so I might need a refill after this. So my name's Joshua Barbish, and I'm a current third-year biology major at the University of Virginia. And when I first encountered Wesley, it was at the crazy, hectic, 900-plus clubs being present activities fair in the fall for everyone to come. So I came in with my first year. And that was where I first met Deborah and a couple other students, and from there I was hooked. I had to know more. So if you'll be patient with me, I'm going to try and use an acrostic poem to try and describe my experience with Wesley. And the word for the acrostic is welcome. So the first letter, W, represents where. Wesley, at first, was just a where for me. It was that building across the street from Mem Gym, and also if you look at your giving menus, it's also the building right across the street and next to the Alumni Foundation, which a lot more people know about at first. No, you can make that change. But it was also a place that really caught my attention because even though I grew up in the Methodist Church, it really emphasized the slogan, a place to be and a place to become. And for the first time I was hearing this, and this sounded interesting, it sounded welcoming, it sounded secure, which as a first year, I didn't feel secure about a lot of things, especially with a lot of change happening. The next letter is E, which represents energy. And so, whereas college, you could say definitely felt demotivating at times and kind of tiring, the Wesley Foundation was somewhere where I could re-energize, refresh, restock. And this honestly does look like me taking lots of naps, crashing in between classes on the wonderful couches there in the living room. But it also looked like the Tuesday night dinners or Wednesday night dinners, they alternated for a semester. But then also internally, unlike Jim Ryan, who likes to run a lot, I kind of felt like UVA was a constant marathon. And sometimes I needed to not be in the race. I just wanted to walk. I didn't want to run anymore. And the foundation was a place for me to rest internally too. And so that leads into the L, learning. And so I love to learn. It's a great thing. But sometimes when you enter adulthood, you don't know whether it's right or not to ask questions. You almost kind of build up the shame about asking questions. But this didn't happen with Wesley. This was a place I could actually ask. And also I was asked big questions myself. I was challenged. And from the tabletop questions that were happening weekly to small groups, I got to listen to others, I got to learn, and I got to experience a kind of openness that I didn't get to see much else. And so where I felt doubtful coming into UVA, this was a place for me to learn, to feel like there was something more to engage with. And then, relatable for many people, comes the letter C for community. And community is not just about being around other people. You can be around other people in a train station, but that doesn't necessarily mean you feel community. Wesley built community by making sure that everyone felt known for who they were. At least a part of their heart was out there with the people who were willing to accept it. And so the community at Wesley made me feel like God's character was present with people who were loving or caring or very honest or very just joyful even. I felt like I was getting to know the hearts of others, and at the same time they were getting to know my heart, and that was very valuable to me coming in. Then O represents opening. And so whereas I sometimes felt like the UVA culture half accepted me for just what I could do or what I could perform or what skills I had, I felt like I was wholly accepted at Wesley. People didn't mind me sharing about both my joys and my struggles, the things that made me laugh and those that made me cry. And for me, that kind of inclusivity is important because it's not only open to all kinds of people, but it's open to all kinds of the parts of each person and all of those that need to be cared for and loved. Then the letter M represents movement. And this one I've gotten to see more and more in my second and third year, because as I started moving into leadership roles and getting to help plan with things, I got to see how I also had a need in my heart to respond to others, to love back. And the Wesley Foundation helped minister with that. we got to serve together in projects, as you've probably heard about quite a bit. But we've also gotten to do random acts of kindness on grounds. Like one time we baked cookies and we just handed them out, and it was great. But that kind of opportunity, not only to be loved, but to share love is, in my opinion, it's more total, it's more complete for people, because people need to have opportunities to love and love with their genuine hearts. Then the last letter is E, the second E, and it represents explore. And this comes from the need for space to grow. As each person comes into college and in life in general, we all need space to grow. And so when I came to Wesley, and as I've gotten to grow into this community, I've gotten to see how we can explore God together, to know his character more deeply and richly. We've gotten to explore who we each are as individuals, and we've gotten to find purpose not only to our general lives, but more purpose to our everyday lives, and how valuable that it is. And then lastly, we get to explore relationships with each other, to build that community, and to learn about the complexity, the excitement, the terrifyingness, all of it together. And so why does this acronym, or this acrostic poem, welcome, seem so important to me? Well, I would like to say that welcome means not just being invited, that is important, but it also means being heard, being known, and being loved. So Wesley at UVA has reminded me and taught me and grown in me God's welcoming love and the worth he has given every person. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Gracie Moore, and I'm a fourth year. And I would like to just start by saying I also take lots of naps on the Wesley couches. They're quite comfortable. And then I'd also like to preface by saying, in my 22 years, I have given a whopping 2 speeches, and I am 0 for 2 on making it through without crying. So, third time's the charm maybe, but there's one part you'll understand why when I get there that I might tear up at. So I came to UVA as a third-year transfer. I originally went to Butler University, which is a small school in Indianapolis. I first met Devin, our current campus minister, and Daniel, who you saw in the video, who's currently now serving on a mission in Austria, and his mom's here. And I met them at the student activities fair, just like Joshua said. They were both so welcoming, and I felt really excited to have found a potential faith community, because that was something I was lacking before I transferred to UVA, and I was just really hoping that that would become a part of my life. But as my first few weeks of school started, I found myself becoming really overwhelmed. Coming from such a small university, I had never before walked 20 minutes to my classes. I had never taken a campus bus. I had never gone to a college football game. And I had also never gone to a frat party. So church and my faith community sort of took a back seat as I tried to navigate this feeling of being a freshman or a first year again, even though I was technically a third year. By the time we reached mid-September, just about a year ago, I had found a routine and a sense of comfort at such a large university. I decided finally to attend the small groups at Wesley. I walked in on Thursday night, pretty nervous. Everyone else had already been meeting for several weeks at this point, and I felt like I was going to be the odd one out. However, I was met with this sense of warmth and welcome that could only be explained by the love of God working through others. I immediately felt at ease as the group shared their highs and lows of the week. As we got through the group, I realized that here was a group of students who were coming to church as themselves. They didn't believe they had all the right answers. Instead, they came together to discuss, debate, wonder, and question all the aspects of their faith and identities. They had a campus minister who was willing to meet them where they were and have the difficult conversations about what it means to find your faith in college, what it means to be a modern Christian, and what it means to love your neighbor as Jesus would. The authenticity of Wesley is what drew me in. I remember leaving that night with a free copy of a Rachel Held Evans book in hand, which was paid for by a donation. And I was just so excited coming back the next Thursday. What I never could have expected is that when I returned the next week, it would be with the grief of my cousin who had taken his own life. Thank you. This is Wesley. The people who surrounded me with that instant love and grace and comfort were total strangers. I had only met them for an hour and a half the week prior. Yet in that moment, I knew that they would grow to be some of my very best friends. Flashing forward to the spring semester, we went on an alternative spring break trip to do community service just outside Richmond. Our trip started right after the last home basketball game, which, for those of you familiar with UVA sporting events, this was a bacon game. Which, if you don't know, when our basketball team gets certain amounts of points or football or whatever, we get free bacon. So we set off for Richmond as 7 people with 8 packs of bacon for only 3 days. We cooked it all, and dare I say in this environment, we had an ungodly amount of grease. We had to fill 2 empty cans in order to get rid of it all. And then, with the brilliant idea of Joshua, Kayla and Peter, just kidding, we decided to roll up a paper towel, stick it in, and create a wick. Thus the bacon candle was born. We burned it the next night along with our bonfire, and much to our surprise, in the same way that bonfire smoke sticks to your clothes, so does bacon smoke. We all reeked of cured meat, and had we been in a cartoon, we would have had stench lines coming off of us, and there would be drooling cartoon dogs following us with the awooga eyes. And maybe one of those you had to be there moments, but I can assure you, had you been there, and had you also been exhausted from several days' worth of manual labor, that would be a hilarious memory. So whether it's greasy candles, grieving losses, or just the average daily and weekly interactions at Wesley, it has really come to feel like a home away from home. There are students in this room tonight who have inspired me, motivated me, and changed me in ways that I never would have thought possible prior to my time at UVA. Not only has my faith grown, but every aspect of my life has been influenced due to this foundation. I found more than just a friend group on Lewis Mountain Road. I found a family.